Good morning, Hildur. How are you this morning?
Terrific.
Terrific. Well, good morning to your environment now. My name is Keith Fiveson. I'm with the Center for Wellbeing and the Work Mindfulness Project, and it's always so wonderful to have you here, Hildur, because I know it's the beginning of an opportunity for us to connect with the earth and connect with the things that really matter to our own well-being and our own health. So I think we've got some wonderful speakers today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, my goal with being here is really connecting all of us here on the call, because that's how grassroots work is best done. And I am very excited to introduce Peggy Maslow from North Shore Audobon. She's the president of North Shore Audobon. I met her a few years ago. I found this very beautiful garden, a native plant garden at the Science Museum of Long Island. And I would sit there and meditate. And then one day I met her and we started weeding together, and it became a friendship. And she is now on the board of the Science Museum of Long Island with me. And she's planted and maintains several native plant gardens. She came to my front yard last year and we got certified. So she visits your house. You can sign up after today. She will visit your living space, your environment, and give you points on whether you certify as a bird-friendly habitat. So that will be the topic. First, I would really like to share presentation, a very short presentation, as there's something that I really am excited about. We have student internship at Rewild this summer, as internship to fight hunger and climate change. We are looking for sponsors still. So we are looking for organizations or sponsors to sponsor this program. And I'm excited to share that Plant a Row for the Hungry, North Shore Audobon Society, and Rewild Long Island are sponsoring this initiative so far. We are welcoming also personal contributions. My family will be sponsoring one intern, and will be involving our youth, high schoolers, in work in the field. It's the most exciting project that I really wanted to mention. And you can look on the Rewild website, rewildlongisland.org. If you want to support our work, here are a couple of signs you can buy. You have a question, Keith?
Yeah, I was wondering, Hildur, how many folks are, when you say youth, what ages, and how many are you taking into the program?
High schoolers, and we're welcoming volunteers. We're sponsoring as many as we get sponsors for. So we have, I believe we set our aim for 10. We'll figure that out this weekend. It's going to be a vibrant community of youth and educators. We will meet every Sunday, and the goal with this is to bring together youth that's interested and concerned about the environment, and have them form connections. That's powerful in terms of driving change, and learn from them as they hopefully will learn from us. And on that note, before we move into today's topic, I was thinking the other day about how humans have really disrupted ecosystems when we introduce non-native species. So we've talked before in this show about non-native plants and invasive plants and what that means. Just quickly, an invasive species is a species that's not native to a specific location, has a tendency to spread to a degree believed to cause damage to the environment, human economy, or human health. These are all very common birds. We know them, and they're recently introduced, like the starling was introduced by a Shakespeare fan in Central Park in, I believe, 1890s, and has now sort of taken over. Also, house sparrows were introduced in good faith really, to help with manage the caterpillar population. And now they've really pushed out one of my favorite birds, the eastern bluebird. And we all know the pigeon.
Oh, that's wrong.
The pigeon itself is a
I just have to correct that, Hildur.
Yep, please do.
The starling pushed out is a cavity dweller. They're
Yes.
the ones that pushed out the bluebird.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And I believe the sparrow is not helpful to the bluebird population, but
I don't think
correct me anytime. You're the expert.
Okay.
But anyway, it's right that these were all introduced as invasive. They're invasive because they were non-native and they weren't managed by. They've driven out beautiful birds like this one. So the starling has pushed out the eastern bluebird, one of my favorites. But I believe Peggy could tell us a little bit about where we would find the eastern bluebird. I saw that Jennifer, who was with us last week, she had seen bluebirds here out near us in Port Washington. Is that?
No, not
nowhere near us?
No,
on Long
not
Island?
Yeah, they're at Bethpage State Park.
Yes, that's where yeah.
The golf course has 45 bluebird houses, but they only have 6 pairs.
So so could you explain that to us? So they build houses?
Yeah, we have houses that they have a program they've had since before 9/11, 2001. A woman was putting bluebird houses all over Bethpage State Park, the golf course.
Yes.
And because they like grass. And I think she said her first pair was during 2001. The first pair that came, because at first it was only the tree sparrows, but then finally bluebirds started to show up. So,
yes.
And she's been banding them, and she's not doing that anymore, but they still have the 45 houses, bird houses, and they usually have 6 or 7 pairs of bluebirds. That's it. But you have to put houses up. And in North Carolina, where I go for a few months because I have grandchildren, everybody who has a yard has a bluebird house or 2.
Yes.
And that's why the bluebirds are all over in Durham, North Carolina, because you have to put bluebird houses. The holes are too small for starlings.
And this is a good segue into today's topic, how to create bird-friendly habitats in your home. Okay. And it's very important what we do as humans here. We introduce either accidentally or intentionally new species. And for a long time, it wasn't recognized the damage we were causing to the ecosystem, to the biodiversity, right? So how do you, I would like to invite you to start your presentation and,
so
share with us, share with us how you rate our homes.
Oh, good, it's working. Let me
see
if I can play. Okay, it started. Okay, so that sign, this certified bird-friendly habitat is, this property uses native plants, removes invasive plants, and provides other essential elements for birds to survive. And I don't think there's another chapter. I think there are 27 chapters in New York, 7 on Long Island, and I am the only chapter in New York who does this, and I would love for other chapters, especially for harbors, Susan, to do this. I'd like other chapters to do this. I learned from chapters in North Carolina, in Northern Virginia, Atlanta, California has them. I mean, they're all over the country. Audubon chapters that come to your yard and help you become certified. And there are certain things you have to do to be certified. And what I do, well, I'll keep going now. So that's the sign. You get a little sign. It's only 9 by 12, a yard sign. When you get certified, these are the books that influenced me. Bringing Nature Home by Douglas Tallamay. I read it probably over 10 years ago. And I saw him speak. He had visited traveling across the country, and he saw people's yards, and they all looked the same. Everybody had a blue spruce, azaleas, hydrangeas, you know what I'm talking about? Every yard is the same. And
yes.
That does not help the native birds and insects because you have to get plants that they evolved with for them to survive and do well. So he's a professor emeritus now of insects, entomology at University of Delaware. So he started doing studies about yards or areas that had native plants and how many birds and how many insects and what kinds of insects, that was his specialty, insects, and did studies how many more survive in that kind of habitat with native plants, how much better and richer the animals were. So the birds and the insects. And then this is a book, Native Plants of the Northeast, that he's the head of the department at Syracuse, the forestry department, and his book is terrific if you need to know what plants. He's very big on, you put the right plant in the right spot. So if it needs dry soil, if it needs wet soil or sun, that's the thing you have to be careful. Okay, so this is the sign we put up on our so far we have 7 native plant gardens. And it's trying to get people to plant one, and then why they should use native plants. It explains that too. I don't know if we have gardens in Bayville. I don't know if anyone's from Bayville. We have a garden at Bayville Village. We have one in Planting Fields Arboretum. The one at Bailey Arboretum, the garden is a mess because I have no one taking care of it. I need someone to weed and take care of it. We have one in Port Washington, 2 in Port Washington. One's at the Cow Neck Historical Society and one is at Science Museum of Long Island. I'm trying to think of more. Garvey's Point has a native plant garden that we didn't put a sign there, but they put their own sign. And that was the first garden we actually got we get grants. So I found that was not enough. I thought putting demonstration gardens wasn't enough. And I saw these other chapters were doing the certifying of native plants, people's yards. And so that's why I started that, I think 3 or 4 years ago, because I didn't think it was enough just to have the demonstration gardens. And I have brochure holders. And here's some of the brochures. This tells you how you'll be scored when they come to your yard. And how you can, if you want to get certified, these are the things you need: native plants, less lawn and commercial mulch, tree canopy, water sources, brush piles, snags, pollinator plants, use of rainwater. Now I have sprinklers, but I also have 2 rain barrels, and I water my plants that are house plants or certain plants I water with. I use that water a lot. So I don't just use my in-ground sprinklers. But you get more points if you don't have them. And control invasive plants, outdoor cats, you lose points for that. And no pesticides. These are the things that we're looking for when we come to your house. Okay, and these are. And
Peggy, can you remind me how many points is good?
Oh, well, 65 points. I'll show you the point system. I have the sheet here. This is the back of that brochure, which you can get at these gardens I mentioned.
Like at the Science Museum of Long Island?
Yes, yeah. Yep. The brochures are in the brochure.
Thank you for that.
The Cow Neck Historical Society. I had them at Bailey Arboretum and Planting Fields Arboretum. I don't know if they're still there. I have to keep adding them. And Bayville, I think they're there. I have 7 gardens. I'm trying to remember where else they could be, the brochures. But if you want a brochure, I can also give you these brochures personally if I come to your house. So these are the lists of plants that I recommend. I picked 30 plants. Douglas Talamay's book, he also has a website, Bringing Nature Home. So it's bringingnatureHome.net. And he says not all native plants are equal for helping birds and wildlife. And for instance, oak trees attract 500 insects. And that's, nothing else is close. The wild cherry trees attract 300. And then after that, it's much less. Those are the 2 best plants to attract insects that the birds need to feed their young, and some birds mostly eat insects. And then there are perennials that he rates. Goldenrod and aster are the 2 best, he says, for attracting insects that birds can eat. So, or attracting insects, period. So I tried to include 30 native plants here that were the best, but there are a lot of course, a lot of other native plants. And and I tried to rate them because you want some color. So spring, I rated them by when they bloom. So spring, summer, fall. And then I separated evergreens and vines and small flowering trees. So that's how I did it. And I'm going to show you pictures.
Peggy,
Yes.
I have a question. Is this information available online somewhere, or can we?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
this is all online. The Audubon site is northshoreaudobon.org. So it's all on that site under bird-friendly habitat. There's a link right there, northshoreaudobon.org, bird-friendly habitat. And at the bottom here in the left corner, it says it costs $20. That goes for the cost of the sign, and then I come as many times as you need me. And I also order plants from you from a wholesaler. I can do that, so you get wholesale prices, and I can bring the plants to you, but I don't plant them. And I can help you design and but pick, decide what you want where. So that's what I've been doing for the last few years. I had someone help me, a landscape architect, in the garden I did at the Science Museum. So I learned from her. That's how it's got started.
And Peggy,
Yes.
are you saying that this is all complimentary, or is there a price?
Yes, it's just $20. I'm a volunteer. It pays for the sign, the $20, and then I can come as many times as you need. I will go free for you to pick up and order from wholesalers, and I will bring the plants. Now, if they're big plants, I have a Prius, so I can't bring, sometimes if you want to order big plants, but you can go pick them up yourself. You just say North Shore Audubon Society and you get them, and you pay for them. Right, so
Right.
yeah, I go to the wholesaler I go to is the one in Dix Hills, Atlantic. But I also order from Glover, and their plants are really good. But the bigger plants, they don't have really big plants. It's Glover perennials, so they're smaller things. And their plants are so good and healthy, and they deliver. And they delivered for free because I've ordered enough. Every year I get $950 for another. I ask for a grant. I don't get it automatically from Audubon, New York, and I get, I planted another native plant garden. So the one I just planted, is at Nassau County Museum of Art. So that has the brochures too. That's the newest native plant garden we just did this May. And so every year.
Yes, and
yeah.
Peggy, that's at the Children's Center.
Yes, the Man's Center, right.
The main.
Yeah, right. And right. Did that answer your question? But we ordered so many perennials for that, and then other people that they delivered free, the Glover perennials. So if I get enough orders, I can order, I guess at least a few $100s. I think that was $900 worth of plants. And 3 people who were not part of the garden was $435 for that garden. And 3 people ordered $200 worth of plants, so that it came enough to, well, that was $1,000. So they delivered free. So I don't know what their cutoff, but then it's only $25 delivery. But the Glover perennials is way out on the North Fork, and they deliver, and their plants are so good. They're so healthy. So that's who I've been using. This is when I come to your house. This is what I'm looking for. This page. So I'm giving points for certain things, like do you compost? I use sprinklers, so I don't get those points. Do you use rainwater? I have 2 rainwater barrels. You can get them from Town and North Hempstead. They're great. Do you use existing leaves as mulch? And no pesticides and only organic fertilizer. So you get 2 points if you do those things. Now, I'm reading from the bottom. Do you have fresh water? You get 2 points for that. The big thing you get points for is what percentage of your yard, where's the big one? What percentage of trees, it's 8, shrubs, flowers is native to the US. Now I only have 50% because I've lived here for 45 years, and I had, for years, I didn't know better. So I had a lot of plants that were not native. Most of them, I think all of them were not native.
Yes, actually, Peggy, I'd like to mention, I think Rusty Smith mentioned an estimate of Long Island back and front yard being less than 5% natives in general.
Yeah.
Rusty Smith.
If it's, you go by my block, hydrangeas.
Water guzzlers.
Yeah, right, that's right. And daylilies, the big orange daylilies are very big.
In
All
short,
over
we
my
must
block,
stop. We must stop. I encourage
Oh, yeah.
everyone to go and have Peggy visit their front or backyard and check your points. I'm going to have Peggy come back because I think I can do better this year.
Okay,
So
I'll come back to your yard.
Yes, let's continue. Let's continue, Peggy.
And let me just interject one point. If you're
Right.
not speaking, please put your microphone on mute. We have some background noise here and we just want to eliminate that. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, I mean, my front yard, I mean, it's taken me 10 years to keep, because you can't get rid of everything. So I'm just doing it very gradually. So don't feel you have to do everything at once. I've been trying to do it gradually. So now I'm trying to get my front yard mostly native. So, and then I have some in the backyard, but again, I've been here for 45 years and planting things, and it just, some things I have a hemlock hedge, and hemlocks are native, so that's nice. But, and trees, I didn't know to plant native trees, but luckily I planted one thornless honey locust, which is a hybrid, but mostly native. So that, luckily, and that was in 1985, and the thing is huge now. So I'm happy about that. So, I mean, these are the things that I'm looking for. And then the second page, whoops, it's not going to the next page. Why isn't it going to the next page, guys? Did I freeze? What happened? Oh no.
Well, we can take you offline for now, so people can ask you questions, and then you can come back.
Why don't I just escape? Wait, I see it. This thing moves. This thing moves.
Yeah, it's moving. Very good. And we need to move along because we only have.
Okay, I'll do quicker. I'll be quick.
Yes.
Okay, so these are things you lose points for, and mostly it's native plants. You lose 10 points if you have
Feral cats. We talked about feral cats last week.
Yeah, they're very bad. But if you have everything else so good and you feed one cat, and you still you can get a sign as long as, because other things are very good. And then the intangibles, the 24 points, it helps me put up someone who's really got the right attitude and is really trying. So it's not so hard not to pass. Okay, next. Okay, this is the other brochure where I list 10 native plants, and these are, and explains very carefully where they grow best, what their size is. And you can see there's a bird or a butterfly. That's a butterfly larva, the caterpillar, it's the butterfly weed. And then these are more plants. That's in this brochure called 10 Native Plants. And I just have pictures here of my favorite. This is columbine, native columbine. This one, Phlox stolonifera, I got at the Bronx Museum, the Bronx Garden, New York Botanical Garden. They had 16 plants in a little thing. They said 4 plants that grow in the shade. And I bought it and took it home. And this is only the second year of it. And I've been buying it ever since then. I must have 30 of these plants, and they spread. They're evergreen. They can replace vinca. They can replace English ivy. They're English. And look at in the spring for 2 or 3 weeks. Look at the flower, and the bees love it. See how it grows? It's growing over my curb there. It just spreads. It's fantastic plant. Phlox stolonifera. It grows in the shade. It's not doing it again. Let me just. What is it doing?
You're doing great. I actually.
I don't know why it's not moving.
Where can we get Phlox stolonifera?
Okay, I can buy it any place that you want. Any of these places.
Wonderful.
Yes. Address on Audubon Society. Somebody asked, so I can just give you my email address now if people want it. M-A, type it here, I'll just type my email address, P-M-A.
I can do it for you, Peggy. You can just.
Well, I'm doing it right now, P-Mad.
Mhm. I think we lost your sound, Peggy. Here we go.
Yeah, someone unmuted me because I pushed something.
Here's a question from Steve Finkelstein. Aren't black-eyed Susans technically non-native, but introduced a very long time ago and now naturalized?
Wait, which plant is, I didn't hear the beginning.
The question was, are black-eyed Susans technically non-native?
No, I think they're native. I mean, they're in my book. The book that I put it in the beginning, the book that I have, I have a, I'm just gonna go I have a little photography album where I bring to your house and I photocopied and cut out of the book from the guy, Donald Leopold, his book on Northeastern native plants, and his text is there. So that I know that plant is in his book, and he only put native plants. So I'm from the Northeast, so I'm pretty sure. I have a
excellent. Peggy,
yes.
Peggy, we really want to move to like audience participation. So do you have a lot of slides left? We're going to keep it to like 2 more, maybe. We want to just keep.
Oh, here's the next slide. Can you see that?
Yep.
You can see that. That's geranium maculatum, a shade-loving plant. This is the one. It's gorgeous. You know, in the spring, everybody sees this is the subulata, the flat subulata. That's sun-loving and evergreen. And these are just my favorite. Black-eyed Susans. This is bee balm, and look, you notice hummingbirds come to it. So that's one of my favorite. And then, of course, Asclepias, the butterfly weed, and then coneflower. I'm just showing you perennials, and this one also hummingbirds come to, cornflower, and these I did it in order of seasons. Excuse me, order of seasons. So this is the one that Douglas Calme says is the best one, and that's the goldenrod, and then this is aspen. Okay, done. I'm done. So I'll go off the screen share, right? Let me go off screen share.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yes, I love audience participation.
Yes, of course.
And comments, questions, whatever feeds your fancy today. So I think if I stopped it for you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we should all see each other. Hi.
Okay. There's some. Oh, okay. And Nassau Community College. Oh, of course. Long Island Native Plant Initiative, of course. Yes. That's so wonderful. Yes.
So who has
them, but they're further
who has
out.
A comment or a question? Anybody have something to add for today?
Okay, someone wants to know if plants should be pruned. So,
Peggy, I'm wondering, do you have any time for yourself if you're doing all these wonderful things around town? I would imagine you've got an incredibly busy schedule. Are you available?
Yeah, no, I'm available. I did only 2 this year, only 2 because, you know, you're standing with the mask and people don't want you near their, you know. So I only did 2 certifications so far this year. Usually I do 20 or so. And I've been as far out as Huntington, and hi.
Can I ask, how long do the surveys take? You must be quite a while working out what, you know, is that a percentage of natives and non-natives?
No, it's, you know, how big are your yards? I mean, most people don't have yards more than, I did a yard once that was 5 acres in Sands Point, and that took a while, but most yards are not that big.
Okay.
You know, so it doesn't take, I'd say an hour, that's it. I mean, when I first observed this being done in North Carolina at my son's yard, which was 2 acres, and it was New Hope Audubon in Durham, Chapel Hill, and they came with several people, not by themselves, and they spent 2 hours there, and they wrote down every single tree, bush, plant. And I said, I'm not doing that, and there were several of them. I'm not going to do that. I'm on my own. They have a lot more people somehow that can do this. And I said, I'm not going to list everything. And they charge $50. So
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. So it's a general impression. So I'm looking at every plant. I'm looking at every plant. I go and look at every single plant and I tell the people, this is native, this is non-native. I go around and do every plant. So the person who had 5 acres, it was huge. That was in Sanford. And so that took quite a while because she had a lot of grass too. So unfortunately, but so that, maybe she had 3 acres. I think she only had 3 acres. Anyway.
And Peggy, could you explain how to join your bird walks? I hear you get up at the crack of dawn.
Well, it's easier to see the birds at 7, you know, easier. So because of social distancing, we're not doing the walks anymore, but people are sort of getting together informally. But Wednesday starting maybe September 1st, we will, you go online, you have a calendar, Audubon, North Shore Audobon.org, and you look at our calendar, and maybe we will have the walks posted. But I don't know if we're going to do that because I don't know if it'll be, you don't want more than like 6 or 7 people on a walk. So how are you going to do
What
that?
are you doing? What are you looking for on your walks?
Okay, so now we're doing, people who are from Audubon know that it's New York breeding bird survey is for the next 5 years. We do it every 20 years. So lately I've been going to places and we've been recording any signs of breeding birds. So that's not the usual things. Most people want to see the exotic birds, not exotic, but the migrants that are different. You know, they want to collect a lot of birds, different birds, often birders want to do, but now we're doing something a little different where, because the breeding bird survey is for 5 years and we're looking to see if they're in nests, birds are in nests, are they feeding birds in nests, are they fledglings, are they flying with food, because that means that something's going on, are there 2 birds together as a pair even in habitat, that counts, or are they singing, males are singing, and if they're singing at the same 7 days in a row or every 7 days, those are the things. I don't know, this is boring people.
No, it's not. You're never boring. Guess what?
No, but usually we go just to help people identify birds and to find birds. That's the usual thing we do with walks.
I have a question, Peggy.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm just sort of trying to observe the time while getting as much information in as possible. But I have a question. I have noticed more fledglings in front of my house that died. I saw 2 fledglings that were, I can't say this word, fledgling. And I went to several people's house. There were some robins that were sort of lost.
So they fall out too soon before they can fly.
It seemed like a problem more than any other year, or perhaps because people are home and noticing.
I don't know if it's more. Someone yesterday sent me a picture of a red-bellied woodpecker, which is a very pretty woodpecker. I don't know if you ever see them around there. I have the feeders all the time. And she showed me the picture. It was a young one, and it was in the street walking around.
Yes.
And she didn't know if it was because it was a fledgling or was it injured.
Yes.
So then you have to call if you're not sure, because it was fairly big for a baby. So I said to call Volunteers for Wildlife and tell them. Yeah. Meanwhile, to pick it up, put it in a bush off the ground, and maybe the parent will find it. They will find it and feed it.
Yeah.
So and just pick it up a bit.
Miss Shapiro is here. She wants to say something or ask a question.
Oh, yes. I was wondering, when you talk about, when you do the survey, Peggy,
yes.
What do you recommend people do about the invasive species? Because I think I have like Vinkavine. Did you mention that? I think I have a lot of that. So that is
I do too. I have a ton of Vinca that I very gradually over 10 years, I've been replacing it with Phlox stolonifera. I'm not doing it all at once. I'm pulling it out And it seems not to come back easily. So if you pull it out by the roots, it seems to be not like aggressive like some plants. And sometimes what I do is I put this I got from Rusty Schmidt, and so, put cardboard over it and then mulch on top and drill holes and plant the Phlox stolonifera. You put that over the vinca, you smother it, or you can pull it out, depends. I've been pulling it out. And because vinca seems not to come back, and it has not come back in a whole area in the front of my house that I planted lots of stolonifera. I must planted 40 Phlox stolonifera, and they spread. So they're spreading like crazy, and it's evergreen, and the flowers are gorgeous. The tracks, it's early spring, like beginning of May, early April. It's like my total favorite plant. So that's what I would do. Slowly start pulling up the vinca. Is it in the shade, the vinca? Because it grows, because the Phlox stolonifera can take sun or shade, actually. Is it in the shade?
I think, Ms. Shapiro, you need to unmute. It's muted for some reason, and I can't unmute you. Keith, can you help? I think she's sharing, and
I think Stella, there she's muted.
Yeah.
Okay, Stella, she's waving.
Yep, we need to hear her.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter where it is, but I do it gradually.
No, she's there. Okay.
It's for some reason it's.
Oh, there she's unmuted. Stella, so is it in the shade?
Yeah, it's doing very well in the sun, and I have a place in my house in the shade. So vinca seems to like my house, sun or shade.
Well, I introduced it. I had Cassandra, which I totally hated, pulled it all up and put vinca. This is years ago, because I'm in 45 years in my house. So now I'm in the middle of over 10 years, pulling up all the vinca and replacing it. So sun, a lot of plants can grow in the sun. Like, it looks fantastic. It's the other Phlox, the Phlox subulata, looks fantastic. It actually, I've seen it, it just makes this gorgeous mat. And it's gorgeous, and it spreads. So I would replace that with the vinca with that in the sun, if you want something that's ground cover and low. But there's so many other good plants too in the sun. I try to do something every season. So vinca, the stolonifera, and the two Phloxes I'm talking about are spring. So if you want a summer plant that's short, then the Asclepias likes the sun, and it's not too tall. I don't know, vinca's kind of short. I don't know if that's what you want. If you want taller plants, you can get a plant taller than you, like Joe Pyeweed, which I absolutely love. I didn't show a picture of that. I have one in my yard now, taller than me. It blooms in the fall, and butterflies are all over it, and it likes water, so you have to water it a lot. That's the problem. But
I enjoy how the native plants don't even need support. They are very strong standing in my front yard. You
have a Joe Pyeweed, because sometimes that's so tall it does tip over a little, and I put something.
No, I don't have Joe Pyeweed.
It's a giant plant.
Yeah, I have a lot of swamp milkweed.
Oh, that's wonderful plant. Wonderful.
Yes, wonderful plant. I really recommend both Asclepias tuberosa, the beautiful orange flowering butterfly weed, and
Incarnata is the other one. Does anyone have? Yeah. Did I answer your question, Stella?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you need help, you have my email, and I can get you. They have excellent at Glover. I think I ordered, I forget how many Phlox stoloniferas I just added to my yard. I already had about 20 or 30, and I added another 10.
Well, Peggy, I want to recognize all you do. I'm really so grateful for your work here in our world, because you're an example.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So what I was started with was how human activity can cause harm with introducing, accidentally or intentionally invasive species, right? So we're here to make the world better by creating native habitats by
what happens, the invasive species do not get the insects. They didn't evolve together.
Yes.
So if you have a Norway maple, you'll see the leaves are perfect looking. They don't get any insects. You look at an oak leaf, they get insects, and those caterpillars are what the birds eat.
And
So
this used to be preferred. People used to be like, look at my exotic front yard with no bugs in it. Come and hang out. Like that used to be like a status symbol, and we're trying to shift that consciousness in terms of, you know, people are still very proud of their sterile gardens.
If you look at Douglas Talamay's, I have his program on a disc. That Cape Fearon Audubon let us take his program. He costs like $2,000 to speak now, so I can't get him here. I think no one can afford him. But
maybe on Zoom, we may be able to get him on Zoom.
But his book, what he says is that there are so many more birds and insects in yards with native plants, and if we all did this, we all made it, and it connects. So it would equal several national parks, because the national parks and the places that have native plants, the gardens, aren't enough to sustain wildlife. But
and that's why,
that's his point. If we all got together,
connecting habitats,
all the yards, if all the yards got together and did this, could save a lot of wildlife.
Exactly. And that's why Audubon is a natural ally to the movement, Rewild Long Island. We're simply here to support you with your work as well.
Right.
And it goes both ways.
Because Audubon didn't used to support this. Many years ago, but when Douglas Talamay's book came out, I asked the director, still the director, David Yarn something, forgot his name. I asked him, did he read the book? Because it's such a good book, and he hadn't. And then it caught on. So Audubon hasn't always done this, supported native plants. It's much more in the last 8 years or so that they're really supporting it. There's all kinds of
there's a growing awareness.
Yes, you can go on you can go on a site. They tell you what plants to plant. They have their own site. You put in your zip code.
So Peggy,
yes.
So we're about that time, but I just want to again reiterate how wonderfully generous it is of you to take the time and do what you do, and how much knowledge you have. How can people get a hold of you again? Your email address?
Okay, PMaslows@gmail.com.
Great. So it's your first initial, your last name at gmail.com.
No, but I have an S at the end.
Got it. Okay.
Because there was a Phil Maslow, so it's with an S. If you don't put the S, Phil gets it, and he doesn't always forward it.
Great. Okay. And there is I guess there's a last question. We've got to make this brief. I think Stella, you had a question. One more question.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. I was just wanted to say, I know that there were some young people in the chat, and being a teacher at Weber, I just wanted to underline or underscore what you said, Peggy, about, you know, it can be overwhelming if you're a newcomer to this, and just doing one thing at a time. So I wonder if the young man who's here, you know, if they have any sort of garden, it's just a good, I'm going to do what I can to get more young people involved, because they could help, and they have a lot of time this summer, a lot of them.
What school are you at, Stella? What school?
I'm at Weber.
Oh, that's wonderful. You know,
And
Schreiber has
Jacob,
planted a garden. There's a garden at Weber that's a native plant garden.
There's a native plant garden at Weber. I know, I was part of that. I was like in the back.
It's Schreiber. It's a Schreiber.
No, but Weber also has one. If you look, Weber has a rewilded native species garden. They have a small one. It's right by the all-purpose room. But I just wanted to say, for the young man who's here, you know, he could pick one plant. Like you said, Vinkavine, you know, it is overwhelming. I feel like, wow, I have to do this, but how can I make this happen for my own house?
And Vinca's very easy to pull out, by the way.
I'm doing it. Like today, I'm pulling out my Vinkavine, and I'm going to contact you. So I think, you know, one step at a time, we could all make this happen. And I already texted my neighbor, because she was asking me, because she knows that we have the native garden. So I'm going to get my neighbor with this information. So Hildur, is there a way did you record this, or is there a way to access this so I could tell my neighbor? Okay,
yes,
good.
we have this on YouTube. So what we do because I also have friends across time zones who check in with us. So we make the recording available on YouTube, and we encourage connections here. So Jacob is a local steward here in Port Washington, and I don't know if he wants to speak up, but he is also an enthusiastic bird watcher. So I have a feeling he'll step into a role at North Shore Audobon.
Oh, we'd love to meet him.
Yes,
We'd
I
love
would.
to
I
meet
would
him.
definitely like that.
Oh, we'd love to meet you.
See, we're
Okay.
here to make
Sounds very
connections.
interesting.
That's how
Well,
grassroots
okay. If
work.
he wants to come birding, we're doing the bird surveys. I don't know if he wants to do that. 7 o'clock in the morning at Tuesdays at the Sandpoint Preserve. We're doing the breeding bird surveys.
I have a feeling Jacob is on
Okay,
board.
I'll like
Want
to
to
do
do
that.
that?
Yes.
Okay, but it's not exotic birds. It's the birds that are there breeding. Okay, you gotta
I
be
know.
there at 7 and send me your phone number. So if you don't show up, I call you to see if you're coming because they open the gate for us on Tuesdays at 7 at Sands Point Preserve.
Okay.
So if you're not, and then they close it.
Yes, I know. They close.
Okay, yeah, because it's just for, okay, so you give me your phone number and I'll wait for you Tuesday, right?
I'll connect you.
Okay,
I
my
have
phone
both of you.
number is, please write this
You know
down.
what, Jacob, I will connect you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
This is
Okay,
going on
thank
YouTube.
you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
So I just want to, again, thank everyone for being here. This is a real opportunity for us to really make the world a better place, and we do need to do that. Thank you again, Peggy. Thank you, everyone who contributed to the show. And most of all, thank you for your enthusiasm, Hildur, for bringing this together and for really networking us with each other, but also with some incredible speakers. Next week, we've got another show coming up, and we're going to be hearing from Erica Serino. Is that right?
Yes, she sails the world and samples plastic. She's a wildlife rehabilitator and environmental activist and artist. And she's been to Iceland. As a matter of fact, I had the shore side of whale watching once, was looking at the blue whale and a plastic bag floated by. And she's made several of these types of observations. She will be bringing a slideshow next week, Wednesday at 10. Erica will be here. She's magnetic, energizing, and very entertaining. And she will bring a sort of sampling of sites along the way as she sails the seas.
Great, great.
And I really encourage everyone to check in next week, Wednesday at 10.
And I also want to thank Hildur, who has been tremendous champion of helping birds, because that's what Audubon does. So
well, thanks everyone. Thanks for being here, and we can continue chatting, but we'll go sort of offline with it and the recording.
And lastly, Hildur, just for anyone who'd like to get a hold of you, your email address and contact information?
Hildur@rewildlongisland.org.
Great. Hildur at rewildlongisland.org. Perfect. And my name is Keith Fiveson again for the Center for Wellbeing, the Work Mindfulness Project. And I just want to thank everyone for being here again. And we'll see you next week for that wonderful show.
And Keith at Center for Wellbeing, thank you for hosting us.
You're welcome.
So much. Thank you.